There's someone whose attention you've captured in a way that goes far beyond casual interest. While you've been going about your life, perhaps wondering if anyone truly sees you, questioning if your quirks and complexities could ever be fully appreciated, this person has been engaging in something extraordinary. They've been watching, learning, memorizing, not in a surface-level way, but with the kind of focused attention that borders on devotion. And what they're planning to do with all that knowledge, it's going to stop you in your tracks. If you're watching this video, it's not by accident. Something in that title resonated with you because on some level, you've been feeling it. Maybe you've caught them looking at you when they think you're not paying attention. Maybe you've noticed how they remember things you mentioned in passing weeks ago. Maybe there's been a shift in their energy toward you that you can't quite name but can definitely feel. Drop a bay in the comments if something about this title made your heart skip a beat. Here's what I need you to understand from the very beginning. This isn't about someone who's mildly interested in you. This isn't about someone who thinks you're nice or cool or even attractive. This is about someone who has made you a subject of deep study. They're collecting data, but not in a cold, analytical way. They're collecting it the way an art lover studies a masterpiece, the way a musician learns every note of their favorite song, the way a poet absorbs the rhythm of words that move them. They're learning you because they're preparing for something. And what that something is will take your breath away. Some of you already have suspicions about who this person is. Their name just appeared in your mind as you started watching this. For others, you might be surprised when you realize who's been doing this level of observation. It might not be the person you've been focused on. It might be someone whose attention you underestimated. Someone you thought of as just a friend, just a colleague. Just someone in your orbit who you assumed saw you the same way everyone else does. But they don't. They see so much more. If this is already resonating, go ahead and hit that like button. And if the super thanks option calls to you, know that your support allows me to keep creating these deeper conversations that speak to what's really happening beneath the surface of your connections. Now, before we dive into the specifics of what they've been noticing and what they're planning, I want you to get comfortable with something. Being truly seen is simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. There's a part of you that has been longing for this kind of attention. Someone who gets you on a level that feels almost telepathic. But there's another part of you that might be feeling vulnerable right now. Exposed, wondering what it means that someone has been paying this much attention. Both of those reactions are valid. Both are part of what makes this moment so significant. What we're going to explore in this video is not just what they've been noticing about you, but why their attention has reached this level of intensity, what it means for how they see you, what they're doing with all this information they've gathered, and most importantly, what's coming next. Because the observation phase, that's coming to an end. The planning phase, that's where they are right now. And the action phase, that's approaching faster than you realize. This is going to be a deep conversation, so make sure you're in a place where you can really absorb what's being shared. We're going to move through this systematically because understanding the full scope of what's happening will help you recognize the signs you've been seeing and prepare you for what's about to unfold. Stay with me through this entire journey because what I'm going to share toward the end about what happens when someone who has studied you this deeply finally makes their move that's going to reframe everything you've been experiencing. Let's begin with what they've actually been noticing. Asterisk, asterisk, when I say they've been studying you, I mean they've been building an encyclopedia of who you are, not the version of you that you present to the world when you're trying to make a good impression, not the curated version that shows up on social media. They've been studying the real you, the one that emerges when you think no one's paying that much attention. They've noticed how your voice changes when you talk about something you're genuinely passionate about. Most people hear your words, but they've been listening to the energy shift. The way you become more animated, more alive, more unguarded. They've clocked which topics make you lean forward and which ones make you subtly retreat. They know the difference between your polite laugh and your real laugh, the one that comes from your belly, the one you can't control, the one that transforms your entire face. They've been watching your hands. The way you gesture when you're excited or explaining something complex. The way you touch your face when you're thinking. The way you fidget with whatever's nearby when you're anxious or uncomfortable. They've noticed that thing you do with your hair when you're trying to focus. That adjustment you make to your posture when you're feeling confident versus when you're trying to make yourself smaller. In conversations. They've been tracking patterns. They know which questions make you open up and which ones make you deflect. They've noticed what you talk about freely and what you carefully avoid. They can sense when you're giving a rehearsed answer versus when you're sharing something raw and true. They've been paying attention to what makes you light up and what makes that light dim. Type scene in the comments if you're realizing someone has been noticing these things about you. But here's where it gets really interesting. They've also been studying what you need. Not what you say you need, but what your spirit has been quietly requesting. They've noticed what exhausts you and what replenishes you. They've picked up on how you respond to stress, how you process difficult emotions, what kind of support actually helps you versus what feels intrusive or performative. They've been watching how you interact with other people, not in a jealous way, but in a learning way. They see how patient you are with people who frustrate you. They notice how generous you are with your time and energy, sometimes to your own detriment. They've observed how you light up when you talk about the people you love and how protective you become when someone you care about is hurting. They've studied your rhythms and patterns. They know when you tend to be most energetic and when you typically need space. They've noticed what time of day you seem most yourself and when you're operating on autopilot. If you're someone who goes quiet when you're overwhelmed, they've noticed that. If you're someone who gets extra talkative when you're nervous, they've clocked that too. They've been collecting your stories. Not just the stories you tell directly, but the ones that emerge in fragments across multiple conversations. They've been assembling these pieces, building a narrative of your life, your past, your wounds, your victories, your dreams. They remember the offhand comment you made about something that happened in childhood. They remember that thing you mentioned wanting to do someday. They remember the name of your childhood pet, your favorite teacher, that friend who betrayed you, that moment when everything changed. And here's something that might surprise you. They've been studying what you don't say, the topics you dance around, the emotions you try to hide, the vulnerability you work so hard to protect. They've been noticing your defense mechanisms, not to exploit them, but to understand them. They see where you build walls and they're beginning to understand why those walls exist. If the Super Thanks feature is calling to you right now, your support helps me dedicate the time these deep explorations require. I'm grateful for each of you who makes that choice. They've paid attention to your contradictions, and instead of being confused by them, they find them fascinating. The way you're confident in some areas and insecure in others. The way you're bold about certain things and cautious about others. The way you can be both independent and yet clearly longing for partnership. Both strong and yet beautifully tender. They don't see these contradictions as flaws or inconsistencies. They see them as the complexity that makes you fully human. They've noticed your values. The things you won't compromise on even when it costs you something. They've seen your integrity in moments when you didn't know anyone was watching. They've observed how you handle situations when no one's applauding or acknowledging you. They've witnessed your character in the mundane moments, not just the highlight reel. They know what scares you. They've picked up on your fears, both the ones you voice and the ones you keep hidden. They understand that some of your behaviors that might seem random, or difficult to others are actually protective responses to old pain. They're not judging these things, they're cataloging them because they're learning how to approach you, how to earn your trust, how to make you feel safe, and they've been noticing what brings you joy. The small things that make you smile when you think no one's looking. The things that make you forget about time. The moments when you become so present and engaged that everything else falls away. They've been watching what feeds your soul, what makes you feel most alive, what connects you to that deeper sense of purpose and meaning. This level of attention isn't casual. This isn't how someone observes a person they're vaguely interested in or mildly curious about. This is how someone observes when they're preparing for something significant, which brings us to the question that's probably burning in your mind. Why? Why have they been studying you with this level of intensity? Asterisk, the level of attention someone gives you reveals what you mean to them. And when someone has been studying you the way this person has been studying you, it reveals something profound. You're not just someone they like. You're not just someone they're attracted to. You're someone they're considering building something real with. Let me say that again because it's important. People don't study someone this deeply if they're planning something casual. They don't invest this kind of mental and emotional energy into learning someone if they're thinking short-term. This level of observation happens when someone is doing the internal work of determining if you could be their person. Not just a person. Their person. They've been trying to understand if what they feel for you is sustainable. If the attraction they feel goes beyond chemistry into genuine compatibility. If the way you move through the world aligns with the way they want to move through the world. If your quirks are ones they can not just tolerate but actually adore. If your complexity is something they're equipped to honor and appreciate for the long haul, drop a heart emoji. If this is making something click into place for you, here's what. Their deep observation has been teaching them, you're not who they expected. In the best possible way, you keep surprising them. Every time they think they have you figured out, you reveal another layer. Every time they believe they understand the full scope of who you are, they discover something new that makes you even more interesting. This delights them. Where some people might be frustrated by not being able to fully categorize you, they're captivated. They love that you're not simple or predictable. They love that getting to know you is an ongoing discovery rather than a quick assessment. They love that you have depth that can't be skimmed, that truly knowing you requires the kind of sustained attention they've been giving. Their observation has also been revealing something to them about themselves. The way they feel about you is different from anything they've felt before. It's not the intense but ultimately shallow infatuation they've experienced with others. It's not the comfortable but ultimately unfulfilling compatibility they've settled for in the past. This is something that engages their mind, their heart, their body, and their spirit all at once. You fascinate them intellectually. You move them emotionally. You attract them physically. And there's something about your presence that touches something deeper, something they might describe as spiritual or soul level if they're the type to use those words. They've been studying you because they're aware that how they approach this matters. They know that you're not someone who responds to generic romantic gestures or scripted lines. They know that you can sense when something is authentic versus when it's performance. They know that earning your trust and opening your heart requires a level of intentionality and thoughtfulness that most people aren't capable of, or willing to give dots, so they've been preparing. They've been taking notes, not literally perhaps, but mentally and emotionally. They've been building a map of who you are so that when they make their move, it's not going to be some generic expression of interest. It's going to be tailored specifically to you. It's going to demonstrate that they see you, that they understand you, that they've been paying attention in a way that most people never do. If you've been blessed by what's being shared so far, the Super Thanks option is one way to support this work. Your generosity makes these deep conversations possible. Let's talk about what they've learned about your past. because this is significant. Through careful attention and piecing together the fragments you've shared, they've developed an understanding of what you've been through. They know you've been hurt before. They can sense the places where you've been disappointed, betrayed, underestimated, or taken for granted. They've noticed the subtle ways those experiences have shaped how you protect yourself now. And here's what's important. Instead of being intimidated by your past or the defenses you've built because of it, they're approaching it with respect and patience. They understand that your guardedness isn't a flaw, it's intelligence. It's self-preservation. It's evidence that you've learned from experience. They're not trying to bulldoze through your boundaries or convince you that they're different through words alone. They're planning to demonstrate it through sustained, consistent action. They've also been learning about your dreams, not just your practical goals, but your deeper longings. The life you want to build, the person you want to become, the experiences you want to have, the impact you want to make. And they've been asking themselves a crucial question. Can I support that? Can I enhance that? Can I be a partner in that vision rather than a distraction from it or an obstacle to it? The fact that they're asking these questions tells you something vital. They're thinking about this seriously. They're not caught up in the intoxication of attraction without considering the reality of what a life together would actually look like. They're doing the mature work of determining if they can be what you need, not just now in the exciting, early stages, but in the long, complex journey of actual partnership. They've noticed your independence and they love it. They've seen that you're not looking for someone to complete you because you're already whole. You're not trying to fill a void because you've done the work of filling it yourself. You're not desperate for rescue because you've learned to be your own hero. This doesn't intimidate them. It actually makes them want you more because they understand that choosing to be with them would be exactly that, a choice, not a need. Don't miss this next part because it's crucial. Pay attention to what their observation reveals about their emotional maturity. Someone who studies you this deeply, who takes the time to truly understand you before making their move, is someone who operates differently than most. They're not impulsive. They're not reckless. They're not treating connection like a game or a conquest. They're treating it like the sacred, significant thing it actually is. They've been studying how you communicate. They know whether you're someone who needs to process internally before talking things through or if you work things out through conversation. They've noticed whether you're direct or whether you communicate more subtly. They've learned whether you need space when you're upset or whether you need presence. They're not waiting to learn these things through trial and error once you're together. They're learning them now so they can meet you where you are from the very beginning. Comment ready? If something in you is preparing for what's about to unfold. They've also been observing your relationships with others as a way of understanding how you love. They've watched how loyal you are to your friends. They've seen how you show up for your family even when it's complicated. They've noticed how you treat strangers, servers, people who can do nothing for you. They've observed your capacity for forgiveness and your willingness to set boundaries. All of this has been teaching them about your heart, your character, your capacity for love. And perhaps most significantly, they've been noticing the moments when you seem most yourself versus the moments when you're performing or protecting. They want the real you. They're not interested in the persona you've perfected for public consumption. They're drawn to the raw, unfiltered version of you that emerges when you feel safe and seen. And they've been working to understand what creates that safety for you so they can cultivate it. Their observation has led them to a conclusion. You're worth the effort. You're worth the patience. You're worth the careful planning. You're worth doing this right rather than rushing in and potentially ruining something that could be extraordinary. But here's where we need to shift because all of this observation and internal processing is building toward something. The watching phase is transitioning into the planning phase. And the planning phase is about to transition into the action phase. So what exactly are they planning? What are they preparing to do with all this knowledge they've gathered about you? That's what we need to explore next, and I promise you, it's going to take your breath away. Let's talk about what happens when someone who has studied you with this level of depth and attention decides to make their move. Because they're not planning some generic romantic gesture pulled from a movie or a social media trend. They're planning something that could only work for you, something that demonstrates just how much attention they've been paying. They're planning to show you that you're seen. Not in a vague, surface-level way, but in the specific, detailed, profound way that you've been longing to be seen your entire life. They're going to reference things you mentioned once in passing that you didn't think anyone would remember. They're going to create moments that align with what actually brings you joy, not what they assume would impress you. They're going to demonstrate through action, not just words, that they've been listening, watching, learning. For some of you, this might look like them planning an experience that speaks directly to something you're passionate about but rarely get to indulge. They've noticed that thing you light up about, that interest or hobby or curiosity that you don't often get to share with others because most people don't understand it or care about it the way you do. They're going to create space for that, participate in that. Show genuine interest in that. If this is giving you goosebumps, let me see those heart emojis in the comments. For others, what they're planning is more subtle but no less powerful. They're planning to become consistently present in your life in a way that feels natural, not forced. They're going to show up in the small moments, not just the big ones. They're going to be there in ways that make your life easier, lighter, better. They've been studying what you need, and they're preparing to meet those needs before you even have to ask. They're planning to communicate with you in the way you actually receive communication. If you're someone who feels love through quality time, they're not going to bombard you with gifts. If you're someone who needs words of affirmation, they're not going to assume that presence is enough. If you're someone who feels cared for through acts of service, they're going to show up in practical ways. They've been paying attention to your love language, and they're about to speak it fluently. Here's something that might surprise you. They're also planning to go slow in ways that matter. They know you've been rushed before, pushed before, pressured before. They know that past relationships move too fast physically or emotionally, and you ended up in something that felt intense but ultimately wasn't sustainable or healthy. They're not going to repeat that pattern. They're planning to build with you at a pace that feels solid, intentional, respectful of your need for security. But don't confuse slow with uncertain. They're not slow because they don't know what they want. They're slow because they're being intentional about building something that lasts. There's a difference between someone who's dragging their feet because they're ambivalent and someone who's being patient because they're serious. This person is the latter. The Super Thanks feature is there if you feel called to support this ministry. Your contribution helps me continue creating content that speaks to these deeper truths. They're planning to challenge you in good ways. They've noticed areas where you've been playing small, where you've been hiding your light, where you've been settling for less than you deserve. And while they're not going to push you or pressure you, they are going to create space for you to expand. They're going to reflect back to you the brilliance they see that you sometimes can't see in yourself. They're going to encourage you toward your dreams, your growth, your becoming. They're planning to earn your trust through consistency. They've noticed that you've been burned by inconsistency before, people who were intensely present and then suddenly distant, people who made promises they didn't keep, people whose words and actions didn't align. They're planning to be steady, reliable, present not just when it's exciting or convenient, but in the ordinary moments, in the difficult moments, in the boring moments. They're also planning to be vulnerable with you. They've been observing and learning, but they're not planning to keep a wall up themselves. They're preparing to let you see them, really see them, flaws and fears and complicated history and all. They understand that real intimacy requires mutual vulnerability, and they're ready to go there with you. Here's what they're planning that might be the most significant. They're planning to love you in your entirety, not just the parts of you that are easy or impressive or pretty. They're preparing to love the parts of you that are messy, complicated, difficult. The parts you worry are too much or not enough. The parts you usually hide because you're afraid they'll make someone leave. They've been studying all of you, and they're making the choice to love all of you. Some of you are going to see their plan unfold through a direct conversation. They're going to sit down with you, look you in the eyes, and tell you what you've come to mean to them. But it won't be generic declarations. It will be specific. They'll reference exact moments, specific things you've said or done, particular qualities they've observed. You'll know in that moment that this isn't something they're saying to just anyone. This is a confession that could only be for you. Others are going to see their plan unfold through a series of actions that build on each other, small gestures that add up to something undeniable, consistent presence that becomes a steady rhythm you can count on, thoughtful choices that keep demonstrating that they remember, they care. They're paying attention. Type breathless. If you're feeling the weight of what's being revealed, for those of you who've been hurt by someone who seemed to see you but ultimately didn't, who studied you only to use that information to manipulate you, want to distinguish something important. You'll be able to tell the difference this time. Manipulation feels slick, too smooth, like they're pushing all the right buttons. Genuine love that's been carefully cultivated through observation feels different. It feels like being known, not being played. Trust your discernment. You've learned to recognize the difference. What they're planning also includes space for you to be hesitant, to be uncertain, to take your time. They're not expecting you to immediately reciprocate or rush into something just because they've made their feelings known. They understand that you need to do your own observation, your own assessment, your own determination of whether what they're offering aligns with what you want and need. But they're confident enough in what they've learned about you to believe that if you give this a real chance, if you let yourself be open to the possibility, something extraordinary could unfold between you. They're not arrogant about this confidence. They're grounded in it. They've done the work of truly seeing you, and they believe that you seeing them in return could create something rare and real. Some of you are weeks away from their plan unfolding. Others are days away. A few of you are mere hours away. The timing is going to be right, not rushed, but not postponed to the point of missed opportunity. They've been watching and waiting for the moment when you seem most open, most receptive, most ready. And here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't have to know exactly how you feel or what you want. You just have to be willing to pay attention to what unfolds, to notice what's being offered, to consider what's possible, because what's coming is going to shift something. Whether you end up with this person or not, the experience of being seen this deeply, love this intentionally, chosen this deliberately, it's going to change your understanding of what's possible in connection. Now, we need to talk about how you navigate this. Because knowledge is only powerful when it's accompanied by wisdom about what to do with it. Now that you understand what's happening and what's being planned, let's talk about how you move through this with wisdom, with grace, with your heart both open and protected in healthy ways. First principle: don't overthink yourself out of something real. I know your mind is probably spinning right now. You're analyzing, questioning, looking for reasons to be cautious. And yes, discernment is important. But there's a difference between healthy discernment and self-sabotage. If someone is genuinely showing up for you in the way we've been describing, don't let fear dressed up as wisdom talk you out of receiving it. You've been waiting for someone who sees you. When that someone shows up, the temptation is going to be to find reasons why it can't work, why it's not real, why you should protect yourself by keeping them at arm's length. Watch for that tendency. Notice when your mind starts creating problems that don't exist yet. Stay present with what's actually happening rather than catastrophizing about what could go wrong. Comment present if you're committing to staying grounded in what's real. Second principle. Match their intentionality with your own honesty. If someone is being this thoughtful, this careful, this genuine in how they're approaching you, they deserve your honesty in return. Not game playing. Not performing disinterest to seem mysterious or valuable. Not hiding your feelings to maintain some imaginary upper hand. Real connection requires real communication. This doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. It doesn't mean you can't express uncertainty or need time. But it does mean being honest about where you are. If you're interested but scared, say that. If you need to go slow, express that. If you have questions or concerns, voice them. Give them the gift of knowing what's actually happening inside, you rather than making them guess. Third principle. Observe them observing you. Pay attention to how it feels to be seen by this person. Does their attention make you feel exposed in a violating way or known in an honoring way? Does their observation feel intrusive, or does it feel like finally someone is paying the kind of attention you've been longing for? Your body and your spirit will tell you the difference if you're paying attention. Good attention makes you feel more like yourself, not less. It makes you feel freer to be authentic, not more pressured to perform. It makes you feel celebrated for your complexity, not simplified into a fantasy. Check in with yourself regularly about how their attention is actually landing on you. Fourth principle. Let them earn your trust through time. Someone studying you carefully is a beautiful thing, but trust still needs to be built through consistent action over time. Don't give your whole heart away just because someone has been paying attention. Let their words be confirmed by their actions. Let their initial efforts be sustained into ongoing presence. Real love proves itself through staying power, not just strong starts. If what's being shared is resonating deeply, the Super Thanks option allows you to support this work. I'm grateful for everyone who contributes to making these conversations possible. Fifth principle. Don't abandon yourself in the process of opening to someone else. Sometimes when we finally encounter someone who sees us, we get so excited about being chosen that we forget to keep choosing ourselves. We start contorting ourselves to keep their interest. We ignore our own needs to accommodate theirs. We make ourselves smaller so they have more room. Don't do that. The person who has been studying the real you doesn't want a diminished version of you. They want the full, expansive, authentic you. Keep honoring your own needs, maintaining your own boundaries, investing in your own life. A real partner will appreciate and support that, not resent it. Sixth principle. Communicate your pace and your needs. If you're someone who needs to go slow, say so clearly. If you need certain conversations to happen before you can move forward, express that. If there are deal breakers or non-negotiables for you, make those known. Someone who truly cares about you will want to know these things so they can honor them, not so they can work around them. You're not being difficult by having needs and boundaries. You're being clear. And clarity is a gift to someone who's trying to love you well. It removes the guesswork and creates space for them to actually meet you where you are. Seventh principle. Notice whether they're studying you to understand you or to manipulate you. Here's the crucial distinction. Someone who studies you to understand you uses that information to honor you better, love you better, support you better. Someone who studies you to manipulate you uses that information to control you, to get what they want from you, to exploit your vulnerabilities. Real love makes you feel safer over time, not more anxious. Real love is interested in your wholeness, not your usefulness. Real love respects your no as much as it celebrates your yes. If their attention starts to feel like strategy rather than genuine care, trust that instinct. Eighth principle: stay connected to your community. When something new and exciting is developing romantically, there's a temptation to isolate, to create a bubble around just the two of you. Resist that. Stay connected to your friends, your family, your support system. Let the people who know you well observe this connection too. They'll often see things you can't see when you're in the middle of it. Drop a word in the comments describing how you're feeling right now. Ninth principle: give yourself permission to want this. Some of you have been alone for so long or hurt so deeply that you've convinced yourself you don't need or want partnership anymore. You've built an identity around being independent, self-sufficient, fine on your own. And while all of that might be true, it's also okay to want companionship. It's okay to want someone to share your life with. It's okay to want to be chosen by someone who really sees you. Don't let pride or fear dressed up as independence keep you from receiving what your heart actually wants. You can be whole on your own and still desire partnership. Those aren't contradictory. They're both true. 10th principle: trust the timing. If this is real, it doesn't have to happen on anyone's rushed timeline. You don't have to have immediate clarity. You don't have to make permanent decisions right away. You can take your time, feel your way through, let things unfold organically. Real love is patient. Real love understands that good things are worth waiting for and worth building carefully, but also don't use waiting for perfect clarity as an excuse to avoid risk forever. At some point, if someone is consistently showing up for you, being honest with you, demonstrating through sustained action that they're serious about you, you have to be willing to take the risk of believing them. You have to be willing to step into the possibility, even without guarantees. Here's what I want you to remember as you navigate this. You deserve to be loved with intention. You deserve someone who pays attention. You deserve someone who studies you not to use you, but to know how to honor you. And when that person shows up, you deserve to let yourself receive what they're offering. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or rushing past legitimate concerns. It means being open to the possibility that something real and good could be developing. It means letting your hope and your wisdom work together instead of letting fear override both of them. The person who has been studying you is preparing to show you something. When they do, be present for it. Be honest about it. Be open to it. And trust yourself to know whether what they're offering aligns with what your soul has been asking for. Asterisk, we've covered so much ground together in this conversation, and I want to bring it home by talking about what this moment means in the larger context of your journey. The fact that someone is seeing you this deeply, preparing to love you this intentionally, shows that you're ready for something different than what you've experienced before. The universe doesn't bring people who are capable of this level of presence into your life until you've done enough work on yourself to recognize it and receive it. Think about who you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Think about the relationships you would have accepted back then, the love you would have settled for, the attention you thought was enough. You're not that person anymore. You've grown. You've healed. You've learned to value yourself in ways you didn't before. And now someone is showing up who matches that growth. If this journey is resonating with you, go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. These conversations go deep, and there's so much more to explore together. This moment is a reflection of your readiness. Not perfection, none of us are perfect. But readiness. You're ready to be seen because you've done the work of seeing yourself. You're ready to be loved intentionally because you've learned to love yourself with intention. You're ready for someone who pays attention because you've learned to pay attention to your own needs and honor them. What's about to unfold, whether it becomes a relationship or a learning experience or something, that shifts your understanding of what's possible, is arriving at exactly the right time. Trust that. Even if the timing feels uncomfortable or inconvenient or scary, Trust that there's wisdom in when things appear in our lives. For those of you who end up in a relationship with this person who's been studying you, remember this moment. Remember what it felt like to be pursued with this level of care and thoughtfulness. Let that set the standard for how you treat each other going forward. Don't let the comfort of established relationship make you lazy about continuing to pay attention, continuing to learn each other, continuing to choose each other with intention. For those of you who this turns out not to be your person, you still received something valuable. You experienced what it feels like when someone truly sees you. You now know that this level of attention and care exists. You've raised your standards for what you'll accept because you've experienced something better. That knowledge will serve you as you continue your journey. Type grateful if you're thankful for this moment, whatever comes of it. I want to speak directly to those of you who are feeling scared right now. Being seen this deeply can feel terrifying, especially if you've been hiding or protecting yourself for a long time. It's vulnerable. It's exposing. It requires you to let go of control and trust that someone else will handle your heart with care. That fear is valid. Honor it, but don't let it make your decisions for you. Feel the fear and stay curious about what's possible anyway. Sometimes the things that scare us most are the very things that have the potential to transform our lives in beautiful ways. Here's what I'm sensing for some of you. This person's plan is going tenfold within the next 2 weeks. For others, it's already begun and you've been sensing the shift without being able to name it. The energy between you has been changing. Conversations have been getting deeper. Their presence has been becoming more consistent. What you're about to experience is the culmination of all that observation crystallizing into clear, direct action. And when it happens, you're going to feel it in your body first. Your heart is going to speed up. Your breath is going to catch. You're going to have that moment of, this is real, this is actually happening, that makes everything feel more vivid and alive. Let yourself feel that. Don't intellectualize it away or minimize it, or talk yourself out of the significance of the moment. If this message found you at exactly the right time, show me with those heart emojis. Some of you have been praying for this. You've been asking the universe, God, your higher power, whatever language you use, to send someone who sees you. Someone who doesn't need you to be perfect, but who appreciates you in your wholeness. Someone who's patient enough to earn your trust and brave enough to pursue you even when you're complicated. This is that answer arriving. Recognize it. Receive it. Others of you stopped asking because you didn't think it was possible anymore. You'd been disappointed too many times. You decided it was safer to focus on other things, to build a life that didn't include this kind of partnership. But here it is anyway, showing up despite your resignation, inviting you back into hope. That's how you know it's real. It found you even when you stopped looking. What they're planning isn't just about romance, though there's certainly that element. It's about partnership. It's about building something together that enhances both of your lives. It's about creating a space where both of you can be fully yourselves and somehow become even more through the connection. That's what happens when two people who've done their individual work come together with intention. I want you to go into what's coming with your eyes open and your heart available. Not guarded to the point of being closed, but not so open that you're unprotected. There's a balance there, and you're wise enough to find it. You've learned enough to know the difference between healthy caution and self-sabotaging fear. The Super Thanks feature is available. If this message has touched something deep in your spirit, your support allows me to continue offering these spaces of encouragement and insight. Remember that this person who's been studying you, they're nervous too. They've invested so much mental and emotional energy into learning you, into planning how to approach you, into preparing to be vulnerable with you. They're taking a risk here. They're putting themselves in a position to possibly be rejected by someone who's come to mean a great deal to them. Hold that awareness with tenderness. When they make their move, Whether it's through words or actions or a combination of both, meet them with the same courage they're showing you. You don't have to have all the answers or know exactly how you feel or commit to anything you're not ready for. But you can meet their courage with your own honesty and presence. You can honor what they're offering by really considering it, really feeling into it, really letting yourself imagine what could be possible. This is your moment. Not in a way that demands immediate decision or perfect clarity, but in a way that invites you to step more fully into your life, into possibility, into the kind of connection you've been secretly hoping for, even when you told yourself you didn't need it. The person who's been studying every detail of you is about to show you what they've learned. They're about to reveal what all that attention has been building toward. And yes, it's going to take your breath away, not because it's going to be some grand theatrical gesture, but because it's going to be so specifically, unmistakably meant for you. No one else would recognize themselves in what they're preparing to say or do or offer. But you will. You'll recognize your own details reflected back to you through someone else's loving attention. You'll see yourself through their eyes and realize that you're more wonderful than you allowed yourself to believe. Comment, ready for this. If you're stepping into this moment with courage. As we close this conversation, I want to leave you with this. Whatever happens next, you're not the same person you were before you pressed play on this video. Something has shifted in your awareness. You've moved from wondering if anyone really sees you to knowing that someone does. You've moved from questioning if this kind of attention exists to recognizing that it's being directed toward you right now. That changes things. That changes how you move forward. That changes what you're available for and what you'll accept. Let it change you. Let this moment of being truly seen, truly known, truly chosen with intention mark a before and after in your story. The breath they're about to take from you? It's not just surprise or excitement or overwhelming emotion, though it might be all of those things. It's the sharp intake of air that happens when something you hoped for but didn't quite believe in suddenly becomes tangible and real. Breathe it in. Breathe them in. Breathe in the possibility. Breathe in the hope. Breathe in the risk and the reward and the beautiful uncertainty of two people choosing to see what they could build together. This is your time. This is your person showing up. This is your chance to let yourself be loved the way you've always deserved to be loved. Don't miss it by overthinking it. Don't avoid it by staying in fear. Don't dismiss it by convincing yourself it can't be real. It is real. They've been watching. They've been learning. They've been preparing. And what comes next is going to be exactly what your soul has been asking for. Even in the moments when you couldn't find the words to articulate that ask. If this message spoke directly to your situation, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you feel called to support this channel through Super Thanks, know that your generosity helps me continue creating these deep, soul-level conversations. You are seen. You are known. You are chosen. And someone has been studying every detail of you because they're planning something that honors who you truly are. Get ready. It's about to unfold, and it's going to be breathtaking. Stay open, dear heart. Stay present. Stay available to what wants to find you. This is your moment. Receive it. Asterisk, drop A, and the word seen if this message was meant for you. Let's create a wave of recognition in the comments for everyone who needed to hear this today.